Now if you're working towards handstand push-ups or working towards strengthening the one you already have, eccentrics or negatives are really important. Now they can be done deficit on a box, deficit on the steps like I just showed, freestanding, either deficit on the floor, or using wall or post assist. Now the goal with the eccentric or the negative handstand push-up is to trace the pathway, so make it identical to how it's going to look when you do the concentric. So obviously the goal is to get from the handstand position to touch the head to the floor and then come back up to your handstand position, your start position, in one movement. Now whether that's on the floor like that, whether it's on a deficit, whether it's on rings, on P-bars, or you're working towards harder skills like 90-degree handstand push-ups or dead presses. And there's two things we really need to think about when we look at the eccentric handstand push-up. We need to think about the balance, so showing control and be able to hold the positions on the way down and not fighting ourselves. So basically if I'm slightly out of position, so if I like lean backwards now like I'm standing, I can do this, but I'm using energy to stand here. So I'm not going to be able to stand here for as long as I can if I stand upright. The same thing with the handstand push-up. If I'm slowly out of balance or slightly out of balance, then I'm going to have to put in more and more energy to hold my balance, which means I'm going to have less strength for the handstand push-up. And because the handstand push-up is normally angled, the balance isn't so simple to think about as it is in a two-arm handstand. And then the other thing we need to think about, which is generally easier to think about and easier to train and program, is just the strength side. So the reps and sets and the range of motion that we want to get strong in. So first of all, let's have a look at basic setup. Now, normally when I go into my strength movements, so my presses and my handstand push-ups, I'm not going to have my standard handstand position. So my standard handstand position would be here. If I'm going to do one arms, it would probably be even closer with the hands together. So this would be my normal standard two-arm handstand. But because we're going to do a strength movement, the same with my squats. If I'm going to do a squat, I'm going to go slightly wider with my feet and I'm going to externally rotate. So I'm going to do exactly the same when I do my handstand push-ups. So I'm going to go more to something like this. So slight external rotation, the index fingers now are turned out slightly and I have my hands a little bit wider. And then I'm going to look at my head position, my focal position. Where am I looking at the floor and where are my shoulders relative to my hands? Now this is going to be the standard position for my two-arm handstand. So if your two-arm handstand is a little bit more like this, so shoulders out in front, your head's looking back, that's where yours is going to be. If it's a little bit further forward, so you have more open shoulders in the handstand, that's where I'd recommend you go. So your normal shoulder positions for your balanced handstand. Now if you're not freestanding yet, I would recommend you go into your normal chest to wall handstand position. So your shoulders might actually be a little bit closer to the wall than your hands are, but your shoulders are open. Now the next part gets a little bit interesting. We want to have a look at our bottom position. What's our goal for the bottom position? Now some people, when they do this, they actually have a smaller triangle. So what I mean by the triangle is basically the position your hands and your head makes up. So those 3 points. Now this is going to be slightly different for everyone depending on what your goal is, what your limb length is like, what your confidence is in terms of taking the shoulders forwards, what your strength is like in that range. But basically you want to decide on that and practice that bottom position. Now this is much easier to do from a deficit. And a deficit, it's your shoulder stand position. So if you're going to do a deficit eccentric, you want to have this shoulder stand. You want to be able to hold that, ideally hold conversation in that position, be really comfortable, be able to hang out there for 20-30 seconds. Because for the eccentric, that is the bottom position, that's where you're going to finish the movement and you want to show control there. And then when you start working the concentric, that's where you're going to change direction. So you want to make sure that you're balanced and controlled there. Now it is much easier on a deficit because your head and shoulders are slightly below the hands and you can play with the angle. Now the angle of your body is going to determine how far forward your head is. So I can go into more of like this position. Now see how far forwards my head is, which means my feet are over here somewhere. If I have my head closer towards my hands, then I have more of an upright torso position. Now somewhere in the middle, for most people, they're going to feel they're strongest because we're going to have the most recruitment from the chest and the shoulders. The more upright you become, the more it becomes shoulders and triceps, and it's just much harder to push. A bit like it is harder to do an overhead press than it is to do a bench press. So have a play with that deficit shoulder stand position, make sure you can get that. Then attempt the same bottom position but without the steps, without the deficit, and you're going to find it's going to be much harder. You definitely can't rest in this position as much. This is much harder to hold. And see how the head is just kissing the floor? So I've got slight external rotation, I'm pushing the elbows into my side, but that's actually quite challenging to hold. I could probably hold that for like 15 seconds, where the other one I could hold for 60 plus. And now we can start playing with the actual eccentric itself. So I'm going to start in my handstand position. I'm going to slowly lower through the eccentric and finish with my head touching the floor. Hold for 2 to 3 seconds and then come down onto my feet or my knees. So start position, I'm trying to keep the body as one segment. The shoulders come forwards as the feet and the torso and everything works together as one piece. And I come down till the head just kisses the floor. Show control, come back down again. Now that start bit is where we really need to understand what happens to the shoulders. So the shoulders are open. The first thing that happens is the shoulders close as the elbows just start to bend. So it's very similar to like an overhead press. If I've got a barbell here, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to bring the bar forwards and start to bend the elbows, and it comes down in front of me. Exactly the same for the handstand push-up, but the shoulders move and the hands are fixed. Now it is a little bit easier to isolate that movement if we do it on the wall. So open shoulder position, I'm going to close the shoulders, start to bend the elbows, come back again, close the shoulders, start to bend the elbows, and then that would just continue down. Elbows go back a little bit, just keep externally rotating until the head kisses the floor, show control, step out. Now that is slightly easier to step out of that position because I'm on a post. You could use a corner of a wall. If not, you're going to have to slide down sideways, which is a bit tricky to get out of. Now it's exactly the same if I'm on the P-bars. So watch the shoulders are open. Wait for the cars to go past. Okay, then the shoulders close, elbows start to bend. Externally rotate so elbows stay in. Find my balance as I come down. Show control at the bottom. Cool thing with the high P-bars is it's an easy exit back out. So we have the top position, we have the bottom position, and we understand what needs to happen as we come down. So we need to find that bottom position by closing the shoulders. It's going to be a little bit different for everyone. But now what we need to do is think about time under tension. So what I'll demonstrate now is my strongest pathway. So the position that I find the easiest. So I'm going to use time under tension to determine that. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go as slow as I can on the eccentric. I'm going to try and get around 30 seconds on the way down. Now that's probably the best way to train, is trying to accumulate 30 seconds per set. Now most of you aren't going to be able to do 1 rep at 30 seconds. So what you need to do is 2 reps at 15, 3 repetitions at 10 seconds, or if you're going to go up to 6 repetitions, it would be 5 seconds per rep. If you need more than 5 or 6 reps per set, the movement you're working towards is probably a little bit challenging for you. I'll try to make it a little bit easier. Same thing if you can comfortably do 30 seconds, the movement's too easy. So let's see if I can get 30 seconds on the way down. But if we have a look at the angle as I come down, look at how the shoulder comes forwards and the feet go backwards. And then that angle stays roughly the same for about 2/3 of the movement. And I finish in that comfortable shoulder stand position. Now my one was 30 seconds of movement. I'd recommend that you count like 4 or 5 seconds at the top and 4 or 5 seconds at the bottom as well. We can look at the pathway again. Let's do the same but without the deficit. Now that one I got the tempo slightly wrong. Actually, I think I done it on the first one as well. I went a little bit too quick at the start. Now don't use a setup like this, use a proper wall. But the hardest thing about doing the wall assist version is getting to the point where your toes are light on the wall. You want to feel that they're kissing the wall all the time. as you come down, but very, very lightly. So I'm literally skimming the wall. If I have too much weight on the wall, like this, I'm going to lose my position. Obviously, if I have not enough weight on, I'm going to fall off the wall. So while you're learning the wall version, try and have exactly the same amount of weight, very, very light on the wall throughout the pathway. And there you might have to fine tune the distance your hands are away from the wall and the target you're going to. Now I recommend with all of these you work to a target, so stick something down on the floor. So I'm using this flower, that's the point that I'm going to look at as I come down, as I start to open the shoulders. That's the point my head is going to go towards at the bottom of the movement, so it will finish there. So I've got that target, then I can fine tune that where my hands are, especially if I'm against the wall. If I'm freestanding but on the floor, I'll do exactly the same. Pick that target. There's the target to look at as I come down to aim for with the head. If I want to fine tune it, I'll just move it forwards and backwards. Also check out this other video where I go through the up movement only, the concentric up, and have a little play with that one. Even if you don't quite have the balance yet, you can use the wall for this as well. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll speak to you next time.